Texas Governor Greg Abbott has announced his latest immigration policy, but what isn't being reported is the Republican infighting at play that involves Trump administration officials, and it is delicious. So we're gonna get to that underlying story that isn't being focused on. Before we get to it though, here's what Greg Abbott has proposed. Abbott announced that his state will start busing and flying undocumented immigrants to the nation's capital as part of a broader crackdown amid rising illegal crossings and fears that restoring old policies will overwhelm border communities. For 2 years, a federal health order called Title 42 has allowed the government to expel more than 1.7 million migrants in the name of controlling COVID-19. Now, Title 42 is set to be, is basically set to be expired. They're not going to use it anymore because it turns out that it has really nothing to do with COVID. But more importantly, there are certain rights that people have. Asylum seekers are supposed to have their asylum cases heard. And so there's been a lot of pressure on the Biden administration to do what he's supposed to do and stop extending a Trump era policy that really had nothing to do with COVID and had everything to do with just immediately expelling asylum seekers at the border. Now the state, meaning Texas, will start offering bus rides to migrants released from federal custody while their court cases are pending. Abbott and other conservatives have derided current immigration policy as a strategy of catch and release, while advocates for migrants say it's the most humane way to handle the many people seeking asylum in the US. Now, I thought what was interesting was how Abbott talked about this on Fox, because it's very clear the state will start offering bus rides to DC. So that means it's a voluntary thing. He was asked about it, but decided to skirt the question. Let's watch.
Tell us more about your plan, and also I understand that there was a press release that was issued later last night that explained that the migrants would have to volunteer to get on a bus to go to Washington, D.C., is that right?
Well, let me explain how this whole process works. First, the big goal that we're seeking to achieve, and that is Joe Biden has refused to come to the border to see the chaos that he has created by his open border policies. So we're going to take the border to him by transporting the people that he is dropping off in these local communities in the state of Texas and sending them to Washington by plane or by bus. What's happening is there's an increased number of people coming across the border that the federal government, are processing and then letting loose. And what has been happening so far is those people will be getting on buses and going to San Antonio or Houston or other places like that. And so I think they just need longer bus rides.
My favorite part of that interview that he had on Fox News was that he was kind of going after Joe Biden for not coming to the border. He won't come to the border to see what's happening over at the border. But just yesterday he said this, quote, "We'll be taking unprecedented action. Congress has to stop talking about it, has to stop complaining about it, has to stop going to the border and looking at it." Congress has to take action just like Texas is taking action. But going back to the question that was clearly posed there, is this a voluntary program or are you gonna force migrants onto these planes and buses? He's asked again, here's the follow-up, let's watch.
Governor, in summary, then you will make the offer and it's up to them to say yes or no to get on board that bus.
And Bill, here's the deal. This has been happening for weeks, if not months now. So we know the process already works. It's just a matter of relocating the drop-off point as opposed to San Antonio or Houston or some other place.
So I love this because the right wing, like they want these migrants to be forced, like kidnap them and put them on a plane or put them on a bus and ship them over to DC. But he can't do that. I'm sure there are laws preventing him from being able to do that. And really, at the end of the day, what Abbott is doing here, and this is what's not being reported on, Cenk, he's responding to the pressure he's getting from former Trump administration officials who are calling on governors in states like Texas and Arizona to call an emergency, to declare an emergency because their states are being invaded. And since it's an emergency, since their states are being invaded, these former Trump administration officials argue that you can then use state troopers and the National Guard to deal with the border.
Yeah.
And he's not willing to do that, which I think is the right thing to do, but he's got to give them a substitute, and this is his tough guy substitute.
Okay, there's a twist here for me. I don't really mind this policy, so I'm gonna explain why. But first, on the hypocrisy of, oh, he won't come to see the border. Oh, all he's doing is seeing the border. My 11-year-old son would say, bruh. Okay, make up your mind. All right, now here comes the twist. So even if you thought it was involuntary, and that obviously is a huge problem because it's not maybe kidnapping, it's definitely kidnapping. You can't grab people when you have no legal authority over them and make them do something, including going on a bus many states away. But even in that scenario, like they think like, oh, it's a big thing, like, haha, we got you. Now we're gonna send the undocumented immigrants to Washington. So what? We think that they should be processed. We should see if they have legitimate asylum concerns, and if they do, then they should be admitted into the country. But most of them, unfortunately, don't. And then they do show up for court, about 84%, and then eventually, once the case is resolved, they do go back to their home countries. So they do that in DC, they do that in Texas. I don't really care. So it's not like a big gotcha, right? And okay, well, what if it was your city? Yeah, sure, well, I don't care. I just want to do the right thing. But then on top of that, when Abbott acknowledges, well, it would be kidnapping, so I can't do it. He said it in that interview with Fox. So then, let me get this right. You're offering them a free ticket to go somewhere else in the country if they want to. It sounds like that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, where's the money gonna come from?
Totally.
So are you gonna use state funds for this? Cool, I mean.
No, I need voters in Texas to understand that Greg Abbott is using your money for free trips for undocumented immigrants to all across the country. It's because it's totally voluntary. If they don't want to, they can just stay right there. If they do want to, they're like, oh, you're gonna fly me to DC? I got family in DC. Well, I'd like to see DC, why not? I'll do it at the taxpayers' expense in Texas. Super happy to do it. It's voluntary, and there's nothing you can do about that. So, boy, you really got us, Greg Abbott. Okay, now, but I wanna give more on the twist, because he has proposed all these different things because, as Anna pointed out, he's in an election, he's got to try to appear the most draconian out of the right wingers. And so there's some awful things that he suggested, like low water crossings with a razor wire. No, don't, there's kids there. You really want them ripped up by razor wire? Don't answer the question if you're a Republican. I know your answer. You don't care about kids, you don't care about life, you don't care about any of that. I know you want them ripped up by razor wire. Okay, but for the rest of us who are decent moral human beings, that's atrocious. But some of the other stuff, I think, have at it, Hoss. He's like, oh, we should do boat blockades and increase lighting in prominent smuggling areas. Oh, okay, sure, why not? I don't mind you putting a light at the border. If you're gonna try to block people and then apprehend them, you're supposed to apprehend them. If they're coming in undocumented, if they're seeking asylum, then you turn them over to go through the process. You think you got us? You didn't, I don't. And then we should routinely inspect commercial vehicles entering Texas. You don't?
Yeah, you don't? Like, I don't, what is wrong with these people, right? Like, my favorite thing was just yesterday, like Mitch McConnell, like complaining about the lack of border security after we had 4 years of Donald Trump touting how he had bolstered border security. So what happened? What happened to border security? What happened to the tens of billions of dollars that went toward Trump's stupid wall? He keeps talking about how it was built. He keeps talking about how it was successful, a huge success. What happened? No, it's amazing because there's a huge admission there. Right? They're admitting their own failure in implementing the security measures they claim to champion.
Anna, then you're gonna love the last part of the story where they have another spectacular failure that they had to actually walk back. So they were gonna get tough on immigrants. So last year, they deployed 1,000 members of law enforcement in Texas to go and arrest these people. Now, normally, border control is a federal issue. So federal officials do it, not local state officials like Texas. But they found a loophole, so they thought. Okay, but you're trespassing, so local cops can arrest you for trespassing. So they started doing that. Critics said the push for arrests backfired in straight border towns, creating a new crisis within the local criminal justice system. So all the border towns, I read from the Washington Post there, all the border towns were furious. They're like, now there's like actual criminals and there's no jail cells for them and the whole justice system is clogged up. Those immigrants didn't actually do anything and there's criminals running around everywhere.
Big brains.
Oops. And then they had to go, but then were we arresting him for trespassing? We didn't mean to arrest him for trespassing. And they walked it all the way back. Why? It's clownorama. It's all theatrics to appease a hateful right-wing base. Don't worry, we hate the immigrants. Oh, they're so brown. Well, we don't want those brown people in our state. We're gonna do the razor wires and we're gonna bust them out and we're gonna arrest them. But it's all just theater. They're not actually doing anything, and it's all a joke. And it's a joke played on right-wing voters. So have at it, Hoss. If you like these guys, go for it. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.